Hi and welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruby, and this is my review for Beast. So it's another week of animation, world cinema, anime, and today we are getting stuck into an Indian film that is on Netflix that I don't know that a lot of people are talking about. I know lots of people were talking about the one we recently spoke of. KGF is one of those that I'm going to get into as well. But for now, I'm interested to know whether you've seen this, if you've even heard of this. This is not the new Idris Elba film, also aptly named Beast. This is one that came out in 2022, but has just been dropped onto Netflix, at least in the UK. Let's jump in. After a shopping mall in Chennai is hijacked by terrorists who hold the terrorists as hostages, Veera Raghavan, a spy also trapped in the mall, decides to save the hostages by eliminating the terrorists. So if you watch the trailer for this, it's exactly what you expect. It's Die Hard on steroids in a shopping mall, and that sold me immediately. And then you add in the culture that's probably not normal Hollywood, but with a few dance moves, hyper realistic action sequences where the main protagonist has plot protection up the wazoo, and slow mo action fight sequences that if you've been watching this type of film before, you would have come to know and recognize as a part of the trademark of these type of films. Then you're in for a treat. I know the critics that have reviewed this didn't really review this very well. They didn't rate it highly because they said it didn't really have much interest. There wasn't much storyline. I mean, there wasn't much storyline in Die Hard either. But if it's something that you just want a good action flick that with good action sequences, then I think you're in for a treat here. The thing is, I think a lot of people complained about the tonal shifts of this. That is part and parcel with these type of films where I've found that you go from an action sequence to kind of building backstory. You get a little bit of a sadness. Then you get the comedy. It does shift a lot throughout. It's like almost slapstick when it comes to the comedy. And the main guy who's the spy, I expected him to be like really buff. He isn't. He's like your almost average Joe looking dude. He's a good looking dude, but less buff than I've seen in these type of films, which I kind of appreciated more of the kind of Die Hard character, you know, just a cop. He's an ex-raw agent. I really like the action sequence we get at the beginning, him as a raw agent, and you get that kind of understanding of why he doesn't want to be one anymore. He gets drawn back into this kind of action world, and then we see him having to deal with these terrorists. There are some interesting fight sequences that you get to see. I recently watched KGF. My biggest issue with KGF is that it's editing like Transformers movie. Like, you don't get to see the action. It cuts so rapidly, and there's this fade to blacks that you can see they put the time and effort in the action sequences that look big and heavy and brutal, but you don't get to see a lot of it. In this, because of the slow motion, because of the wide shots, there is some of that fast cutting when they're obviously trying to make that particular action sequence more riveting. But for the most part, you get to see what is happening. It's so ridiculous that you can't help but enjoying what's on screen. If you go into this film thinking that it's going to be like Oscar-worthy, deep theological thinking, it's not that. This is escapism at its best or worst, depending on what type of film that you enjoy. I enjoyed it. I was in the mood for this. If you have any more recommendations similar to this, rather than the KGF style, I would much rather prefer to be reviewing those. The language and the subtitles I thought was fine. How they have it on Netflix is obviously varying depending on which country you're in. I didn't have an issue. It didn't take away from reading to seeing what's on screen. I thought the acting was fine. There were some moments that stood out. There were some moments that were cringy. For the most part, I thought that the way it's put together, the way it looks, was really fun to watch. I really enjoyed the jet scene at the end. I think if you've seen the trailer, you'll know there's a little bit of an action sequence, a culmination of events that happens, and I'll leave that to your imagination or once you actually go and watch it. If this is your like kind of introduction into this world, I think you're going to enjoy it. Been done before, it's nothing new, but it is still really fun. It's nonsense, but you still enjoy it. Does that make sense? Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm going to give this 3.5 Nicolas Cages out of 5, just for enjoyment alone. Cinematography, action sequences, wire work, all of that hand-to-hand choreography, that was a lot of fun, and the dance moves are in there that definitely take away from the film. I don't think they added anything to the storyline this time around. It was just there because you need to have them in. The one I enjoyed most was at the end of the film. So let me know your thoughts down below. I will be dropping my KGF review as well a bit later today, so look out for that. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.